Welcome back to Adventures of a Black Belt Sommelier, sponsored by Four Paws Restaurant, the iconic fine dining restaurant in St. Paul, Minnesota, where I am the sommelier. It is located in that beautifully restored mansion behind me, which was built in 1870. We have wonderful food, attentive professional service, and hopefully excellent wine service. Um, Today is the 25th anniversary of the Tennessee Titans football team Music City Miracle play. So I thought it was an opportune time to share my personal story of my little involvement in that moment in the history of the Tennessee Titans. Um, I always seem to be in the right place at the right time. A lot of the negotiations to bring the Houston Oilers football team to Nashville between the owner of the team, Bud Adams, and the mayor of Nashville, Phil Bredesen, happened in the private dining room at the Wild Boar. So I knew before anyone that this was a possibility but I was sworn to secrecy, but I heard them talking about it. Um, I knew that Bud Adams loved Jordan Cabernet Sauvignon, so I always had a Magnum, at least a Magnum of a great vintage of Jordan Cabernet available for them to drink while they talked. Mayor Bredesen would have very little, almost none, and Bud would drink more than his fair share. So I think I had a part in the success of the negotiations to bring the Oilers to Tennessee because it gave an advantage to Mayor Bredesen in the negotiations that he stayed sober and Bud didn't. I'm kidding, of course, but that is a true story. Um, when they came here, I wanted to have an involvement, and so I contacted them and offered to give uh, a gift certificate, $50 gift certificate each week to the offensive, defensive, and special teams players of the week. And they said they thought that was a great idea. So that program was kind of overseen by Alan Lowry, the special teams coordinator. And so I got to know him pretty well, and it was fun. We got to meet some of the players. The players would come in to redeem their gift certificates. Truth is, usually their wife or girlfriend would come in, so we didn't see too many of the players, but we saw some, and it was fun when they came in. But during for the first few years after the new stadium was built, there was a giant inflated football player, Tennessee Titans football player, kind of like a Macy's Day balloon of a football player they called Tiny, that was in the end zone. It was probably about 40 feet tall. Um, that was in the end zone during warmups. Somehow, I don't remember how, but somehow my store manager, Raymond Scott, and I got recruited to supervise the group of kids each week that hauled this thing out onto the field and then hauled it off. It doesn't sound like that big a deal, but it was actually kind of quite a production because we had to carry a generator out there and a fan. The generator was heavy as hell, and then blow this thing up, hold the ropes that secured it. The kids would hold the ropes that secured it. I think it was a different Cub Scout or Boy Scout troop each week. Um, and and then collapse it after the warm-ups were over and haul it off. It was actually very short period of time to get it set up, stand there for whatever period it was that the warm-ups occurred, and then haul it off. And carrying the generator fell to me and Raymond usually because we were the adults, and it was really heavy. Um, our main responsibility, other than that, was to make sure the kids didn't mess with the players while they were warming up. So keep them in line. So usually we would just be told to go sit somewhere in the stadium and watch the game after we were done. And we would take the private elevator down in the bowels of the stadium up to the club level and find two empty club level seats and sit and watch the game. which was really fun because we didn't have to pay for those club level seats. Actually, Raymond had a PSL in a seat, so my son would go sit in Raymond's seat and then watch the game too. Um, so anyway, it was fun. We got to be there for all the home games the first few years. The Music City Miracle game, for some reason, they told us there were no seats for us. I guess it was so sold out, there was just no realistic expectation that there would be an empty seat for us to sit in because uh, it was the wild card game the year in 1999, that year the Titans went to the Super Bowl and lost to the St. Louis Rams. Um, so we stayed on the field. We were on the field for the whole game, on the sideline. So with I think it was 16 seconds left, the Titans were losing. The Buffalo Bills had just kicked a field goal to take the lead. The game was pretty much over. I was standing on the sideline next to Steve McNair and Eddie George. Um, they had their helmets off. They were talking about where they were going to play golf the next day because the game was over. All of a sudden, we didn't know that they were running this special play. We didn't know that you really, you know, we were at about the 30-yard line and the play occurred at the other 30-yard line. So you really couldn't see what was happening. But anyway, all of a sudden, Kevin Dyson comes running down the sideline. I literally could have high-fived him at the 30-yard line if I'd been stupid enough to do that. Um, and ran into the end zone, and the Titans won. They reviewed this play. Seemed like the referee was under the hood for hours, but it was just a few minutes. There were probably 50 people, Titans people, standing in a horde around him, screaming that if he reversed the call, they would kill him. That may be the reason he didn't reverse the call. But anyway, he came out from underneath the hood and said the ruling stands. It's 10 Titans, touchdown Titans, and so the Titans end up winning the game and going and advancing the playoffs and going to the Super Bowl. The chaos that ensued, I ended up standing behind Jeff Fisher, the coach, the Titans coach, as he was being interviewed on whatever the national TV network was that carried the game, about his reaction to this huge win. And he, as the interview was getting ready to start, he turned to the highway patrolman that was escorting him and said, referring to me, said, "Get this riffraff out of here." So I got called riffraff by Jeff Fisher. I could never have been more excited to be called riffraff in my life. Um, I saw Jeff Fisher a few times in ensuing years and always recounted that story to him. And he always denied that he said that he was always too careful about what he said in public. He would never have said something like that. But of course, he actually did say that. So all these years later, I'm still Tennessee Titans riffraff. I'm still a huge Tennessee Titans fan. And boy, do I hope they get this thing turned around and headed back in the right direction, because it sure is a mess right now. Thanks for tuning in for Adventures of a Black Belt Sommelier. That's my story about the Music City Miracle. If you're in the Twin Cities and you want to have a nice dinner, please come see me at Four Paws Restaurant. It's a fantastic, fantastic place. And we have wonderful wine.